Hello everyone, my name is Kalista Jen Herianto from Bidang Nusantara University. Today I'll present our research entitled Strategic Insights into User Assistance in the Treasury Digital Gold Investment Platform, the role of technical quality and motivational regulation. This research was conducted together with Grace Federica and Mr. Doni Saputra. Our presentation consists of 8 sections: Introduction, Literature Review, Research Model, Methodology, Testing Results, Results and Findings, Conclusion, and Limitations and Future Research. Introduction, Research Background. Digital finance is growing rapidly, supported by increasing fintech literacy and the continuous development of digital infrastructure. Gold remains as a preferred safe haven asset and an important option for investment diversification. Digital platforms such as Treasury make gold investment more accessible by removing the need of physically stored gold. Therefore, our research examines how technical quality and motivational regulation shape user trust and resistance. Introduction, Research Gap and Novelty. This study addresses 3 main research gaps. First, from an empirical perspective, previous studies have mainly focused on trust and technology adoption, while user resistance and technical quality remain relatively underexplored. Second, from a methodological perspective, the DeLone and McLean information success model and self-determination theory are rarely integrated within a single research model. Third, studies involving Generation Z in Indonesia have mostly examined technology adoption rather than resistance. Therefore, the novelty of this study lies in integrating both theories, trust, and testing trust as a mediating variable using PLS-SEM. Research aims and grand theoretical foundation. This study has 3 main objectives. First, to examine how technical and motivational factors affect trust and user assistance. Second, to test the mediating role of trust. Third, to examine this relationship between Generation Z users of Treasury in Indonesia. This research is based on 2 established theoretical frameworks. The DeLone and McLean Information System Success Model includes system quality, service quality, net benefit, and user satisfaction, while self-determination theory includes intrinsic regulation, identified regulation, introjected regulation, and external regulation. Literature Review. The DeLone and McLean model explain how platform quality, value, and reliability influence user evaluations and behavior through 4 dimensions. Self-determination theory explains motivation along a spectrum. Autonomous motivation, which includes intrinsic and identified regulation, tends to support more consistent and sustainable engagement. In contrast, controlled motivation, which includes introjected and external regulation, may produce less stable engagement while internal or external pressure changes. Therefore, self-determination theory extends the DeLone and McLean model by explaining the motivational mechanism underlying trust and user resistance. In this research, each technical dimension is paired with a motivational dimension: system quality with intrinsic regulation, service quality with identified regulation, net benefit with interjected regulation, and user satisfaction with external regulation. Trust refers to users' perceptions of the platform reliability, security, and integrity. In this model, trust acts as a partial mediator. The model follows a dual pathway approach. Technical and motivational factors influence user resistance both indirectly and directly through trust. User resistance may be reflected through hesitation, avoidance, reduced intention to use the platform, or even platform switching behavior. Research Model. This slide presents our proposed research model. The model consists of 10 constructs, 8 independent variables, trust as a mediating variable, and user resistance as a dependent variable. Each of the 8 independent variables is hypothesized to influence both trust and user resistance. The hypotheses are arranged in pairs. Hypothesis 1 to Hypothesis 4 covers user system quality and intrinsic regulation. Hypothesis 5 to Hypothesis 8 covers service quality and identified regulation. Hypothesis 9 to Hypothesis 12 covers net benefit and introjected regulation. And Hypothesis 13 to Hypothesis 16 cover user satisfaction and external regulation. For each construct, one hypothesis examines its effect on trust, while the other examines its direct effect on user resistance. Finally, Hypothesis 17 examines the negative effect of trust on user resistance. Therefore, the model includes 16 paths from 8 independent variables plus 1 path from trust to user resistance, resulting in 17 hypotheses. The solid lines represent paths involving trust, while the dotted lines represent direct effects on user resistance. Methodology. This study used quantitative research approach using questionnaire, and the questionnaire used a 6-point Likert scale without a neutral midpoint. And there are 240 Generation Z respondents who are Indonesian who have prior experience using Treasury for digital gold investment. The data were analyzed using SmartPLS through PLS-EM approach. Testing results. Measurement model. All indicators across the 10 constructs showed autoloadings above 0.8. The average variance extracted values were above 0.5, while Cambridge alpha and composite reliability values were above 0.7. So these results confirms that the measurement model demonstrates satisfactory convergent validity and reliability. Forner-Likert criterion. For each construct, the square root of the average variance extracted shown on the diagonal is all higher than its correlation with the other constructs. So therefore, the discriminant validity is confirmed across the research model. All hypotheses were supported with p-value below 0.05 for every path. Several results are particularly notable. System quality had the strongest positive effect on trust with a coefficient of 0.284. Introjected regulation had the strongest negative effect on trust with a coefficient of negative 0.277. For user resistance, system quality had the strongest negative effect with coefficient negative 0.224. External regulation had a positive effect on user resistance, indicating that greater external control motivation is associated with greater resistance. All inner VIF values were below 2, indicating that multicorrelationality was not a concern in the structural model. Specific indirect effects through trust. All 8 indicators relationship through trust were statistically significant with p-values below 0.05. Each relationship demonstrates partial mediation. The variance accounted for values range from approximately 15% for external regulation and approximately 31% for net benefit. These findings indicate that trust plays a role in shaping user resistance, although it is not the only mechanism involved, as each relationship demonstrates partial mediation. Results and finding. So the first one is that autonomous motivation, represented by identified and intrinsic regulation, increases trust and reduces user resistance. In contrast, controlled motivation, which is represented by external and introjected regulation, decreases trust and increases resistance. Introjected regulation shows the strongest relationship with trust among motivational variables. External regulation showed the strongest relationship with user resistance. Among the technical factors, system quality had the strongest effect in reducing user resistance. This highlights the importance of system stability, responsiveness, and dependability in reducing user hesitation or resistance towards the platform. Conclusion. This study concludes that trust partially mediates the relationship between technical quality, motivational regulation, and user resistance. The finding shows that user resistance is jointly influenced by platform-related factors and motivational regulation, rather than a single dominant factor. From a practical perspective, trust should prioritize system quality and service quality, particularly through system reliability and responsive customer support. Trust may also strengthen intrinsic and identified regulation by enhancing goal-based and personalized user experience. As the additional practical consideration, regulators may support digital gold literacy, risk awareness, and consumer protection. These recommendations are a broader contextual implication and were not directly tested in the structural model. Limitations and future research. This study has several limitations. First, user resistance was measured based on respondent perceived resistance rather than the actual discontinuous behavior. Second, the sample was limited to Generation Z Treasury users in Indonesia. Third, the research used cross-sectional designs. Therefore, the findings should be interpreted with appropriate caution. Future research should combine perceptual measurement with actual behavior data, include users from other platforms and demographic groups, and collect predictor and outcome data from different sources or different points in time to reduce potential common method bias. That's all from my presentation. Thank you very much.